Okay, today's Black Latina Summit, I'm so excited about. I've been following this amazing woman on Instagram for some time who gives like such great advice, even advice when we don't want it. So the things that you're like, I know I shouldn't be doing this in relationships, but hey, I need to be told. And sometimes we need to be reprimanded for our bad behavior or our bad habits. So I love the advice that she gives. And it was so fitting for us to have her a part of our summits. As you know, or if you don't know, if you're new to what we do with the Black Latina Summits, we pick topics that are important to our community. So we've had financial literacy, buying Black, what it is to be a Black Latina, what it is to be a mompreneur, and so many topics that are really near and dear to our hearts and important to us and part of a bigger spectrum of our Black Latina movement, which is a theater and film production company, if you didn't know, in New York City that we tour with shows, but we also have online events, and this is part of our online events, and important for us to engage with audience members that we don't always get to see and talk about things that we know are pressing and near and dear to us. So today is all about dating, love, and relationships, and we have the amazing Allison Wellington, and I'll introduce her to you, tell you who she is, her bio if you don't know that, and then we'll just jump into some great conversation. So Allison Wellington, a certified dating and relationship coach, is a wife and new mom who works with single women to help them find and keep the partners they deserve. She teaches self-confidence, removing limited beliefs, and navigating dating both online and offline. Last year, Allison helped over 100 clients walk down the aisle, get engaged, get into committed relationships, and 2 became first-time moms. Allison has become the go-to expert in dating and relationship space. With a bachelor's degree in education and master's degree in counseling and master's degree extension in mental health counseling, Allison uses sociological sound approaches to coach her clients to their end goal: committed, long-term, healthy relationships. Thank you for being here. Welcome, Allison.
Thank you, Crystal, for having me. This is such an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's just jump right into some of the things that I, think about in relationships and conversations that I've heard along the way from my friends or even online. But more importantly, like for you, what made you want to be a dating coach, a relationship coach? Like, why care, right? Like you found your happy ending, your man, your love. Why want to help in that sense or get involved in the nitty gritty of dating and relationships?
That's an excellent question, Crystal. So actually, when I became a certified coach, I was engaged. I was a few months out from getting married, but I did not forget where I came from. So before I was engaged to my now husband, I was in a relationship for 4 years that did not serve me. So I was in a committed relationship. However, to me, we were not growing and developing at an appropriate rate. So what do I mean by that? So I'm looking for, when are we going to get engaged? When are we going to buy a house? When are we going to start a savings account? When are you going to get married? And it's like, I don't know. And so what I've adopted is that when someone says they don't know, they do know, they just don't want to tell you, right? Oh, I always say, if it's not an emphatic yes, the answer is no. I'm not sure, the answer is no. We'll see. I don't know about y'all. My mother I would ask my mom if I can go to the movies with my friends when I was a kid. She'll say, we'll see. That means no, right? Like if it's not an emphatic yes, the answer is no. And so I don't know means I don't know how to tell you, right? The rest of the sentence, I don't know how to tell you that I'm not moving forward with you. So as a result, 4 years, this is not going in the direction that I desire. I decided to end that relationship. And because I have a background in counseling, even though you're not supposed to do this in the mental health space, I kind of counseled myself. Like I coached myself through that breakup and coached myself back on the dating scene so that I could be found by the partner that I deserve, which my boyfriend right after that guy is now my husband. So I got it. I figured it out. And then I said, well, I don't want to be stingy, right? Like if I'm in a position to help others, if I was able to create this process for myself, then I definitely want to be able to replicate the results for other people, on top of the fact that this was all happening during COVID. So during COVID, a lot of folks were working from home. A lot of folks were afraid about their job security. And I said, well, I need to start a business. So you mentioned that mompreneur thing, like I need to start a business. I need to work for myself because who knows whether or not I'm going to have a job next week on top of my own experience. I said, this would be a perfect opportunity for me to launch this and to help women.
That mental health is so important, and I think obviously we know in the Black and brown community it's like such a taboo thing to talk about, and I'm very open about it. I'm in therapy. I've been in therapy for many years. I'm very comfortable with this space, and I think that when we have issues or problems in something, we tend to look outward, right? And we need to reflect on what we're doing wrong. So what do you think are some of like the problematic things that you think women are doing in the dating space?
Yeah, a lot. So how much time you got? Let's start with saying and believing that men ain't ish. So if we're talking about heterosexual relationships, or whoever they desire, like if there are no good blanks out there, there's no good men, there's no good women, there are no good people. Usually we're talking about heterosexual, men ain't ish, right? Like that's like the classic line. And that's problematic because whatever you say out loud is going to become your truth, right? If I say to myself that I can't lose my baby weight, right? Then I'm absolutely right. You know why? Because I'm not going to do anything to lose the weight. If I tell myself I can't, then why would I bother to go to the gym? I can't. Why would I bother to diet? I can't. So if you're telling me that there are no good men out there, there are a couple of things that's going to happen. You're not going to put yourself in a position to be found, to be seeked out, right? So then you're not going to get any interaction, or you're going to attract ain't-ish guys because that's what you believe that they all are. That's what you're looking for. So that's number one, telling yourself that there are no good guys or no good people out there. Number one. Number two is not being reflective and honest about the mistakes that you made in your former relationship. So if you want to pretend as though you were 100% innocent in every single romantic relationship that you were in that didn't end in the way that you anticipated, then you're setting yourself up for failure. Now, I'm not talking about people who were abused. I'm not talking about anything that's outlandish, outrageous, right? But average stuff, fighting over money, cheating, like average type of stuff. You had a hand in some form or fashion. It could have been 90% him, 10% you, could have been 50-50, could have been 60-40, but not being willing to acknowledge that there was some hand that you had in this relationship not going the way that you anticipated is also holding a lot of people back from being able to grow from the experience. Because if I say everything is Crystal's fault, then why would I ever change me? It was never me. It's all Crystal all the time. But if I say, there were some things that Crystal did that was problematic, and there were some things that Allison did, me, that was problematic, I can work on me. I can't change Crystal, but I can always work on becoming the best version of me. So real quick, those are the top two. Keep saying that the pool, the dating pool is full of pee. You in the pool though. So what does that say about you? Are you a contributor to the pee? So saying negative things, there's no good guys out here, the pool is full of pee, saying those things will change your behavior and change your approach, which will get you exactly what you're saying aloud. If anybody is a believer, if you are a Christian, that you know that they say that the tongue is mightier than the sword, like you're saying these things out loud, it's going to become your truth. And then secondly, not admitting where you went wrong, because then you won't learn and you're going to keep making those same mistakes.
Yeah, I love that. It's so true. And recently there's been this conversation about the alpha female. Why do you think that that's so offensive to men, this whole alpha female conversation?
Yeah, I think that men have been socialized to be expected to be the leader. I was going to say socialized to be a leader, but that's not true because many of them are not leaders. They do not have the skill set, right? But they've been socialized that that's what their role is supposed to be simply because they have a penis. That is it. They are anointed, right? Anointed. They got a penis. There you go. They made it. And so when they come across women who challenge what they are been told is their birthright, right? And what their birthright is for all people who look like them who have a penis, then that is going to be majorly offensive. If you think about, a television show or soap opera that you've seen, right? Then when the granddad dies, and then now we're all sitting around the table to hear the reading of the will, and somebody's left out the will, like, this is my birthright. I've been told my entire life I was going to inherit the house. I've been told my entire life I was going to inherit the business. And now you're denying me my birthright. So that's how they see women who they perceive as alpha or that challenges them, because how dare you challenge something that I was born to do? Whether or not they actually have the skill set is going to be dependent per man.
When it comes to dating, do you believe in dating multiple people at the same time when in the courtship stage? Because I know that there's certain people who are like, no, you should only do one-on-one so that you can focus on that one person. And then others like the style of dating multiple people so you kind of can test the waters more? What do you feel like is more, I guess, a better style of dating, or a more healthier, reasonable?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I work with my clients, they must date more than one person at a time. It is an absolute must. Now, I get some responses. The guys, they particularly don't like that. You know why? Because they don't want to be challenged. Just like we just said earlier before, they don't want competition, so they don't like it. They also are assuming that we are sleeping with each person that we're dating. And that's where I say is a big no. You should not be sleeping with more than one person at a time, simply for your health. I don't care about what society says. I don't care about judgments of others. Just for your health alone, you should not be sleeping with more than one person. So I get a lot of flack from the guys. They don't like that advice. Mind you, that's the same advice that I give them. And it's cool when it's for them, right? But a lot of gentlemen don't like it. A lot of ladies don't like the advice. They say, I don't want to be overwhelmed. I don't want to be stressed out. That's too much work. But you know what's a lot of work? Starting over after 3 years, because you invested in someone without doing the appropriate comparison. And then now you're starting over, right? Starting over after 5 years, boring someone's child, and then they're not showing up in the way that you desired because you didn't vet them. If I bought an AC recently from Best Buy, on the Best Buy website, you can click on multiple products, and then there's a chart. You click compare, and then there's a chart that drops down, and it says, this is how many stars each product got. And this is what the sound control is on the AC. And this is how many BTUs. You need to be able to compare products so that you can decide which one's the best fit for you. If you are investing wholly in one person at a time, and you're putting all of your effort and energy, then you're not seeing what the other options are. You thinking that's the best thing. And when it's not, you've now invested time, effort, energy, money, right? And time is of the essence. Time is of the essence for human beings, right? Because we're mere mortals. And time is of the essence for women who want to have children. Time is of the essence for women who want to have children in wedlock. So we need to juggle. We have to juggle. We should be having conversations with more than one gentleman. I think anything more than 3 is probably unrealistic, because we have a life, we have children, we have family. So conversation, more than one guy at a time, going on a date once a week. So that's your Friday, your Saturday, potential to maybe 2 on a Saturday, maybe a Sunday. And a lot of people will tell me, well, Allison, I don't know how to manage the time, especially if you have children, right? Like, who's going to be paying for childcare? That costs more than the date. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to have a friend who also has children that you trust. Even if she's single, that's even better. And then you're going to trade off. So that means Friday nights, Crystal's going to hold down the fort. She's going to take care of her kids and my own. And then Allison, me, I'm going to take care of the kids Saturday afternoons. And then Crystal has Sunday eve, whatever. You're going to use each other so that you don't have to worry about the expense. But you have to prioritize it. You cannot put all of your eggs in one basket.
I love that, because I also feel like if the people are not, you might not be on the same page with that person, and then you're sitting there only focusing on that one person. And so, like you said, you might think that's the best you could do, or not even that. It's giving the false sense of we're exclusive. Well, if we're supposed to be dating, how will we only be dating each other? And then now if you're saying I can't date other people, then we're exclusive, but you don't want to be exclusive. You want to date other people. So it is confusing. It's very confusing for people. In my opinion, I've always enjoyed dating multiple people, but I have heard the arguments, like you said, where women don't want to do it and men don't want to do it. And that's always been confusing to me.
Yeah. And just to add on to that point, in regards to dating more than one person at a time, there's also this, where people complain about, they latch on too quickly. Like, Allison, how do I avoid latching on? How do I avoid being clingy? Date more than one person. If I have to divide my effort, my energy, my time with 3 different guys, I can't stay on the phone, Love Jones, and with you for 2 hours, because I know that Tim's going to call me at 7 and James is going to call me at 8. So that forces me to limit my time, which then will force me to not become attached so quickly, because there's nothing to attach to. I ain't talked to you that long. I only went on 1 date this week, not 3. So if anyone who complains or is concerned about them being too clingy and attaching themselves too quickly and creating a whole scenario in their mind of a guy that they just met, of them walking down the aisle together, if you date more than one person, it will divide your energy. Yes. And that's a good thing.
Yeah. It expedites the serious part of things way too fast. Because now if you're dating multiple people for 3 months, it kind of spreads it out, where if you're dating that one person for 3 to 6 months, it's like, oh, does that mean we're getting married? Because you're only focused on that one person. Yep. So yeah. What do you think is the biggest misconception about love?
That's a good question. There's a couple of them, a couple of expressions, right? Like that song, love hurts. Like, no, love doesn't hurt. Love is blind and it'll take over your mind. So I think there's a lot of misconceptions about love. And I don't know what came first. Like, is it art imitating life or life imitating art? Because you hear these things in art, in songs, on television, and it's just not true. Like, love is not blind. Love, right? It's not love in itself that causes one to be blind. I would theorize that it may be traumas that causes you to be blind, loneliness, fear of being alone that causes you to be blind, pressure from society that causes you to be blind. So what do I mean by that? So usually when people say love is blind, it means that you ignore clear red flags and continue to be in a relationship with someone that you should not be. It's not in your best interest. I don't think it's love. It's, my mom raised us alone. She struggled financially. I don't want that for my children. So I'm going to ignore this behavior and stay with this man, even though it's not in my best interest. That's trauma. That's childhood stuff. That's not love, right? Or it's a blinding behavior. I don't want to change my lifestyle. Like, I'm living it up. Look at the house, look at the car, and you see that a lot with like when women date celebrities or like women who date like athletes. Like, yes. I'm not giving up this lifestyle. I got it too good. I'm not doing that. If it was an average dude, they would never let an average guy get away with that type of murder. Is it love that's blind? Or is it greed? Or is it, I think there's so many other emotions that is what causes us to ignore poor behavior and mistreatment that has nothing to do with love.
What do you think are some of the most common challenges that relationships that women are facing or trying to overcome nowadays?
Challenges? Mm-hmm. I think, ironically, is going to be, I would say, social media. I think that social media has a hold on us where we believe the things, and rightfully so, it's not outrageous. We believe the things that are posted are reflective of everyone's beliefs. I was just reading a post and a woman said that one thing that really pisses her off, she didn't say social media, but that's what she was indicating, is that social media has it to where it seems like all women believe one thing and all men believe one thing. It was specifically in regards to Keke Palmer. And it was Lil Duval, the comedian, who posted like, oh, all you women are all agreeing with her. And there were like plenty of women who said, no, we don't agree with her. Right. And this particular poster said, we're not all one. Like, we're different people with different beliefs. But social media will have you believing that all men believe this and all women believe that. And what's problematic about that is as we interact on social media and we read these things and we're believing that all guys are intimidated by strong women, or all guys want this feminine woman and you're not it, or all guys don't want a woman over 35, or all guys don't want a plus size woman, or all guys don't want a woman with children, because that's what we see on social media, right? That's what we've been told. Then that begins to get into the, well, men ain't ish, because this is how nasty men are talking about women. Those men, I'm telling you that the good guys, the guys who want healthy relationships, the ones who are not making drastic conclusions about all women over 35 are this, or all plus size women are that, they ain't on social media. You know why? Because they working. They're not on social media.
They're not getting in arguments with random people.
they ain't got time to be online, to be arguing. And unfortunately, and I told my husband, he and the good guys are a part of the problem, because they're not online. They're not countering this mass message, right? So I tell guys all the time, I said, the good ones are a part of the problem too, because you're not challenging the BS. And so now it seems like every guy you read is writing that, and that may be true. Every guy that you're reading is writing all these negative, disparaging things about you. The problem is that's not every guy. Every guy you're reading, but every guy is not online. Not every guy is saying that. And even the good guys will see those negative comments and they're like, I ain't gonna fight with these dudes. I ain't got time for that. And so now that there's this impression that things are worse off in the world than what they are.
I wanted us to touch on to intimacy, right? Because intimacy is not sex, right? Like sex is a type of intimacy, yep. Right? And I think sometimes just people get those two things very confused. So why do you think it's important for us to understand what intimacy is, what that looks like for ourselves, how to be intimate with ourselves, and how to be intimate with our partner?
That's a good question. So I'll say this. You're absolutely right that we confuse or conflate. And the thing is that people probably don't want to say the word sex, so they just want to be clean and politically correct. So they say being intimate, right? And we just replace it with it, where intimacy is not exclusive of sex. That's just one of the elements. Sex is just one element. What I would say is that intimacy within yourself looks like being honest and being reflective about who you are, where you've come from, and where you want to go. So that's you being intimate with yourself, being reflective, being honest. And we mentioned this earlier, like being forthcoming of these are some of the behaviors that I exhibit that might be problematic, and this is how I need to change it so I can show up as the best version of myself. And then intimacy in regards to a couple just means a level of closeness that's beyond what can be offered in any other relationship, right? And so that intimacy also includes all types of touching, hand holding, caressing, all that kind of stuff. But then it also includes vulnerability and being able to be open and honest with your partner about what you're feeling, whether or not it has anything to do with them. Like that, it can be how you've offended me, how you've hurt me, how you're making me feel. It can also be, this is what I experienced as a child. And so this is how it impacts me now, romantically or otherwise. It can be, these are fears that I have. These are concerns that I have. These are insecurities that I have. So that's intimacy too, is being able to be vulnerable and share those things with your life partner.
And I think we miss that mark a lot of times, where it's like intimacy is vulnerability. And it's just like, we have it structured in such a weird way where you can have sex with these people and have these conversations, but you can't be vulnerable. And it's like, wait, hold on a second. I think another thing that we blur the lines with too is non-negotiables and compromise. A lot of times we switch them, and it's like you get caught up in a relationship that you were in because you're thinking you compromise. Meanwhile, it was you blurred the line of your non-negotiable. So I just wanted your input on that, or for you to expand a little bit on like the difference between non-negotiables and compromising.
Yeah, absolutely. So the non-negotiables, as I teach it, are behaviors and traits that your potential partner must seemingly have in order for you to continue to date him or her. So non-negotiables are behaviors or traits that your potential partner must seemingly have in order for you to continue to date him or her. So those are things that you draw a line in the sand, ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm not crossing any lines on it. Now, I will say this, because sometimes people are too particular and they're unrealistic in what their non-negotiables are. So how do you then make sure that you're being practical and realistic, but not necessarily just settling for any old thing? So this is my measure. Number one, I tell people you get 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If, especially a woman, if you let them, they'll have 20, 30, 40. They'll have a loose leaf paper back and front. It's unrealistic. It's impractical. You're creating a person who does not exist, right? So I say 6 things that are absolute must. Now, of course, no human being is just 6 behaviors or traits. Of course, they're going to be way more complicated. They can have a lot more things, but this is how you know that you're not being ridiculous. And then when you have mommy and or grandma who's coming to you and saying, Crystal, why are you still single? You too particular. You say, mommy, I'm asking for 6 things. 6. You're telling me, like, it makes you be sure about the fact that you know you're not doing too much. If you have 30 things, you'd be like, damn, am I being ridiculous? You start questioning yourself. 6 things, you know you're not doing too much, right? That's number one. Number two, how do you qualify if you're asking for too much of the qualities, right? So what I say is that whatever you ask for, you either need to have yourself or you can complement. So out of the 6 non-negotiables, you either need to have them yourself or you can complement them. So what do I mean by that? If you want a man who is strong in his Christian faith, a man who's strong in his Christian faith will probably want a woman who's strong in her Christian faith. If you think that you want a man who's strong in his and he's going to lift you and bring you in, good luck, Chuck, because he's probably going to want a woman who's going to be down with the get down. She's going to be going to church multiple times a week. She's going to be in charge of the cookout, right? So we need to be asking for things that we have or things that we can complement. So what do I mean by that? I'm not saying let's say you have a standard where, even though I push back against this, but a standard where you say that your partner has to be a 6-figure earner, got to make at least $100,000, right? You don't have to make $100,000. I don't think that you need to match them exactly. Can you complement it? So if you want a partner who's financially sound, He can pay his own bills. Can he take care of himself? Can you pay your own bills and take care of yourself? Now, in this particular case, when we talk about money, gentlemen are not normally looking for women unless they're users. They don't really care too much about their woman's financial status. Mm-hmm. However, a man who's financially sound is going to want someone who is knowledgeable about money. A man, because he doesn't want that woman to take his money and then run it up, right? Or take his credit cards and run it up. A man who's financially sound is going to want someone, not necessarily who could contribute to the household, but can manage money, right? Someone who understands the value of a dollar, someone who he can partner with to start a business outside of what they do for their careers. So that's what I mean by it doesn't have to be an exact match, but it needs to be a match or it needs to be a complement. Does it make sense that the two of us are together in this?
I love that. That makes the most sense. That makes the most sense. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you encounter a lot of women who have problems with, like you said, knowing the difference of the two and saying like you said, non-negotiables are things that just not negotiable. But there's times that we need to be a little bit more flexible and not lower our standards, but understand that we got to compromise on some of the things that we're asking for and be okay with not being so strict on these things and expecting that from them. And we're not even providing that for ourselves.
So the compromise comes in on your preferences. So I have my 6 things. I'll give you some examples. I'll give you guys some examples. I never could remember the 6th thing. I wrote this down in 2012 when I decided that I need to get serious about dating. So my non-negotiables was hardworking, affectionate, family-oriented, handsome. Shit, I forgot the 5th one. 5 and 6, right? So that's to give you some ideas. You're not hugging and kissing me and slapping my butt when I walk past in the kitchen every single time. I'm not giving in on that. What will I give in on? Does he have to have a 6-pack? Does he have to be 6'3"? Does he have to make 6 figures? Would I be okay if he's been making 80K and able to live a comfortable lifestyle, especially outside of New York? Like that 6-figure conversation is quite annoying because there's a lot of places we don't. You in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, no shade to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, you gonna be okay with 65K. You gonna make it through. You gonna make it through, right? So that's what I mean about you have your non-negotiables. I need a man who's hardworking. I'm a Caribbean woman. I come from Caribbean descent. That's one of like probably value number 2 on the list of values amongst Caribbean people is hardworking. You got to work hard. I'm not giving in on that. I'm not going to say, I should be flexible. I'm going to date a bum or date a guy who's underemployed. That I'm not giving in on. That's why I said make it 6 and make it things that you have or that you complement. That way, everything else is like, I could work with this. Let me see what I can do. Now, I want y'all to listen to me. I didn't say date people off their potential. We are not in college. We are not 20 years old anymore, where both of us have nothing to show. So everything is potential. Absolutely not. But what I'm saying is do they have the core of what you need as a human being, as a partner? And then other things are, if he cooks, amazing. If he doesn't cook, If he only has 1 kid, good. If he has 2, if he has 3, no, right? Like that's what we're talking about, the flexibility.
For sure. As a married woman, in your experience, what is the key to a successful relationship?
That's a really good question. A lot of people say communication and all that kind of stuff. I would say compatibility. We need to vet people, and then comes with communication and other things, but we need to vet people before we just jump out the window. I knew my husband since I was 18 years old. We stayed in contact off and on through the Facebook. I tell the story all the time. This is back in the days when Facebook was called the Facebook, when you had to have a college email in order to get on, right? So I've known him since I was 18 years old. We dated briefly when I was 18. He went away to college. We remained friends in between. We started dating again when I was about 30. We got married when I was 34. I think so. Dating at 30, engaged at 32, maybe married at 34, baby at 36. Like we got to slow it down, y'all. We got to get to know people to see if they are compatible. We have to give ourselves some time and some space to see if this person is an appropriate match. You got to vet them. So compatibility, I think, is really the number one thing that you're looking for in a potential partner, because once you're compatible, once you see eye to eye on many issues, on most issues, on the way things should be approached, and everything else falls into place. If we are compatible, we're going to be sexually compatible, right? So that means that we're going to enjoy each other in the bedroom and we'll both be fulfilled. If we are compatible, we're going to communicate in similar ways. Now, hopefully that communication is healthy, but if they're both unhealthy, then maybe we both realize we need to get some help around that, right? But compatibility, I think, is going to answer all of those other traits that people list as to what you need, because we'll be similar in that way, and then we can work it out together that way.
Because they say opposites attract, and you can have certain things that are opposite, but it can't be completely like you are two different type of people.
Well, let me tell you what my thought is on opposites attract. Opposites attract, but do opposites sustain? Right? So I can be initially attracted to this person because they're opposite, right? So you see like a classic movie, you know, he's the bad boy, she's the good girl, opposites attract. But at the end of that movie, he's usually riding off on his bike, and then she's sitting there crying. Right? You know, I'm talking about those kind of like classic tropes. Like, absolutely not. Like, So opposites may attract, but do they sustain? And so I do think there needs to be a lot more commonality than differences.
Very true. Do you think race and culture have an impact on dating, negative or positively?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think that one of the mistakes that Black women make, and you can speak to me, Crystal, about what you think about like in the Latin community or Latin culture or identity. For Black women specifically, they make the mistake of being so attached to Black love that they will only date Black men, and they are closing their opportunities. Now, I'm not saying that we should not desire the continuation of our culture, our heritage, our traditions. But if you refuse to give another gentleman a chance just because of his race, you are closing yourself off and creating a lot of opportunity, a missed opportunity. So dating when you're limiting yourself, and that's for anybody. If you're Italian, only date Italians, that's problematic too. Like this is not only for Black women, but that's what I primarily work with. So that's what I see. Like, you got to give other people a chance. Even if it ends up being that your husband is your cultural identity, cool, but give others a chance. This goes back to what we said earlier about making sure that you experience different options, right? I'm going to date more than one guy at a time. I'm going to date more than one race. I'm going to see what's out there, what I like, what I don't like. I know a lot of people say things like, I don't want to have to explain simple things. Like, I don't want to have to make a reference in Martin. Damn, Gina. And then he doesn't get it, right?
Or what if he doesn't like my type of cooking because he's not used to my cultural food? It's like,
good food is good food. You'll be fine. Like, come on now. But he won't get cultural references or whatever. And then what about the beautiful thing of teaching each other new references, right? Or new experiences, or teaching each other another language or another type of food or another way to cook. Bringing someone to your country so that they can see, and kind of like you look at a baby, like with wonderment, like, wow, when they see something new. Imagine you take your buttoned up white guy from Indiana to the beautiful beaches of the Dominican Republic, right? He the best beach he ever saw, maybe he was Coney Island. He went to go visit a friend when he, come on, like, there's value in that too. I think that we dismiss that. I understand the commonality. We just talked about that, but I think there's also value in getting to know other people, different cultures. And it may not be where that's your husband, and that may not be where you land, but cutting yourself off for dating other people, I think, is problematic and limiting.
No, it is. It is like that in the Latino community too. I just think there's such richness and pride in it, like you said, in this idea even of Black love, that it's like, I want my family to be pure, and I want my family to be, and that there's just so much just beauty in other cultures and other things. And we even do it within like the colorism of our communities, right? Like, it's like, well, Haitians stay with Haitians, and Dominicans stay with Dominicans, and Puerto Ricans stay, even in the Caribbean or Central and South America. But I think that, like you said, it limits us because we don't really get to fully see what other cultures are doing. Or it's like, oh, I've never been with an Asian, or I've never been with a Black woman. I mean, a white woman, or, and then I know there's some issues where it's like people will say, well, we're fetishized, so why would we date those other cultures or those other people? Do they really like us for us? Is it like a fetish for them?
Well, guess what? How many times, I don't know about y'all, I don't know who's gonna be watching this call, But how many times you was with a man that was your own race who maybe not fetishized, because that terminology is usually like for a larger group, but used you for something, right? You had you had the big button to smile, you got used. You had a little bit of money, you was flashing around. You was in college and you was swiping everybody's lunches in the cafeteria. Like, we've been used by our own race all the time. So I do I don't want to be fetishized. I don't want to be used. I want to make sure you like me for me. There's plenty of times when we date dudes and they don't like us for us. They like us because we got coaching, because whatever it is. So that alone should not be your reason. Now, if they're saying stupid things, like corny things, oh, I want to dip my biscuit in your chocolate, or like corny ass stuff. Okay, I get it. You're gonna distance yourself. And I also understand this is another thing that we didn't bring up, which is the concern about how you'll be received by family, right? Like, is your mom and your dad or your grandparents open? Are they even willing for you to date someone outside of your race? Am I going to get pushback? And that is a legitimate concern that I will tell you I don't have a response to. I understand your concern, but ask the question. I had a client who went on a date with a white guy. She's Black. And she asked him, have you dated Black women before? He said, yes. Like, I've dated Black women before. I've introduced Black women to my family. It's not a problem, but ask. Don't assume that every family is going to push back against you because of your race.
And that is a huge assumption. Like, oh, how's they gonna react when he brings you home? Well, how do you know? Maybe this is not the first time. I love that. I'm gonna open it up for our guests to ask questions. I just wanted to, my last, kind of statement with you is, I wanted you to finish this statement or finish this sentence. So, creating a healthy dating experience starts with
being clear on exactly what you're looking for in a partner. That's what it starts with. Being clear on exactly what you're looking for in a partner. You're going to save yourself time. You're going to save that gentleman's time and his money, because we're not paying for dates. We're going to save time, effort, energy, money when you are clear on exactly what you're looking for. If you are not clear on what you're looking for, your non-negotiables, what's acceptable, what's unacceptable, then you're going to waver, right? And then after a couple of weeks or months, now it's like, oh no, I know that I said I only want to date someone who has one child. He has two. That's too much for me. Well, he told you he had two on the first date. Why are you wasting that man's time and your own, right? So you need to be very clear about whatever your boundaries are, your expectations, your standards, what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do, what you're willing to give on, what you're not willing to give on, before you even get into this dating pool that you claim has pee in it. But when you don't know what you want and you out here wasting people's time, you're contributing to the pee.
Ladies, if you have anything, any question or comments for Allison, you can unmute yourself and go for it.
Yep, that's right. I'm here. Come on, Jenny, stop playing. You here. Tiana, you here. Nadia, you here. Come on now. People pay a pretty penny to work with me, girl. You getting your questions answered for free. Yes, Crystal. So
I do. Do you have anything like you wanted to? I mean, I asked you a bunch of stuff. If there's anything that you wanted to share.
Oh no, these are all excellent questions, and I thank you for bringing me onto this platform. The only thing that I would want to potentially walk away with, if we're wrapping up, but what I want to make sure that everyone knows and understands is that they are deserving and worthy of love. They are deserving and worthy of love. A lot of times, one of the issues that people face is that they don't believe that for whatever reason. They may have been blatantly told that by an ex-partner, by a parent, which is even worse, because that's the person who literally brought you in this earth. And if you get rejected by a parent, that really has negative repercussions for the rest of people's lives. You are loving, you are deserving of love, and you are deserving of affection, and you are deserving of attention, and you are deserving of a healthy relationship. Now, saying all that nice shit, I'm also going to say you need to work on yourself so that you can receive it better, that you can discern when something's inappropriate and remove yourself, and you can attach to when it's right. Because you are deserving. I believe everyone, almost everyone, I mean, minus like murderers and pedophiles, right? But most people on earth are deserving of love, attention, affection, right? That's what I believe. However, it's going to be hard for you to attach yourself to it if you are not showing up as the best version of you, as healed as possible. No one's ever 100% healed. You're going to die at 110 years old and still not be perfectly healed, right? But if you are not doing the work to show up as the best version of yourself, you're still deserving. You just probably won't get it. right? I want you to think about the hardest working person at your job. Sometimes they don't have the highest position and they don't make the most money. Sometimes the people who work the hardest tend to, right? Like those are the ones who take care of children and who clean places. Like they are working hard, they're busting their behinds, and they don't get the kudos and the salary that they deserve. So it's not only what you deserve, but it's also what you can negotiate. And you can negotiate more for yourself if you're showing up and you're doing the work.
Allison, what do you have coming up, or what are you working on?
Yeah. So I'm going to be launching my Dating 101 class. So I do this class every quarter. So it's quarter time. So I'm going to be doing that at the end of this month. That's the end of July. August 1st, I'm going to be doing my alignment assignment. So if there's anybody on here who did the alignment, I had like 250 people who joined this challenge with me. And every day they work towards changing something to get their life into alignment, not only dating and relationships. It can be career, it can be relationships with friends, loved ones, but I'll be launching the alignment assignment, which is a 31-day challenge. I did it in January. I should have done it in July, but I didn't remember until like July 2nd. So I'm going to do it. My plan was every 6 months. I'm going to do it August, the alignment assignment, and it's working towards every day a new task to get your life into alignment. So that's what I got going. And
tell folks where they can find you.
Sure, absolutely. So my favorite platform is Instagram. So you can find me at Align with Allison, ALIGN with Allison. But I'm also on every other platform imaginable, TikTok, YouTube, everything. But super important, I did launch a podcast. It's called The Single Season. And you can find that on YouTube. So you can watch it on YouTube. You could also listen to it on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. And I would like to boast, 3 weeks into my show, I charted. So I am number 197 on the Apple charts under the category of relationships. So I say all that to say that it's quality content. So I'm gonna need y'all to go ahead, check it out. Again, The Single Season on YouTube, on Spotify, and on Apple. And if you think that the content is 5-star worthy, please make sure you give me a 5-star rating and share it with your friends.
I want to thank you so much for coming on. Ladies, last chance to say anything or ask any questions to Allison before we wrap up. As always, like, it's such a pleasure and honor to meet, Black women who are just doing positive things in the community and who care. Like, that was the first question I asked you, like, why even do this? What's the point? What are you getting out of it? But sometimes, especially in our community, when we do things of service for other people, it actually boomerangs back to us, and it makes us feel, and it does more for us than we thought it would do. So I really appreciate, and I thank you for that, and give you your flowers here and now. So
thank you.
I want to thank you and everyone else for joining. And as always, you can find out what we're doing in the Black Latina movement on our IG channel, on our Facebook. You can see more of our other summits, our other programming, our plays, and our other Talks and Tequila that we have coming up in Atlanta. So thank you all for joining. And as always, stay safe and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.